you're good.
Okay.
Okay, so for the review over the systems test, a couple of different things. On number one, it's like find a solution to the system of equations. It's not already set up for elimination. You have to multiply by a -1. That's going to be 5x plus 2y equals -3. And then we get 3x minus 2y is equal to -5. That gives us 8x is equal to a -8, which means x is equal to a -1. Once we have that solution, we can put that back into either one of them. I make this a -5, I move it over. I would get +2, so 2y equals 2. That means y is 1. My answer is -1, 1. That's if I'm solving by elimination. That's kind of how to get that done. On the test, this is going to be multiple choice. So when you see one like this, you'll pick the answer out of 4 of them. So make sure you're careful. Some of them are just like the same answer with the signs reversed and stuff like that. So you got to be sure you know which one's the right answer. Tell whether the system has no solution, one solution, or infinitely many solutions. I believe on the test there are 3 questions like this as well. It's multiple choice. On these, they're parallel lines. They're never going to touch. So this is no solutions. On this one, once you move it over, these lines are exactly the same line. That's going to be an infinite number of solutions. And then the last one, they have different slopes. They're only going to cross one time. That's one solution. Easiest way to check on these when you're doing it on the test would be to graph them. Okay, if you have to solve them out, you solve them by the usual methods. Solve the system of equations. If you're doing one like this, that's both y equals, and you want to solve it algebraically, you set them equal to each other. 3x minus 1 equals 2x minus 9. That would be a single x is equal to a -8. And then you would put that in and get your answers. If you are working this through on the calculator, because they're both y equals, it's a lot easier to just graph. On this one, it might be easier to graph them. You would solve by substitution if you're doing this algebraically. This whole -3x plus 11 would go in the place of y, since that's what y equals. So it would be 3x plus 2 times -3x plus 11 is equal to 7. You'd have a -6. Sorry, that's 3x. -6, so that's a -3x. You would have 22. That would go over to the other side. So it equals a -15, so x would be equal to 5, and then you'd be able to work from there. Down here on the bottom where it's talking about solve the system, again, this is a multiple choice test. It's going to be all about like find the answer out of the ones that you have. If you need to go back over the calculator method that we used in class, it has to be in standard form, like this one here on 7. If you wrote a matrix, that would be the 3 and the 1, the coefficients, and then the 1 and the 2. You would put that into a matrix, raise it to the -1, and multiply that matrix by another matrix that was my solutions, -2 and 1. You multiply that out, it gives you your answer. Just make sure that that answer matches up with what's on the multiple choice test. Don't just be like, oh, it didn't do it, and then click something random. Like, you can still find the solution. Go back in the calculator, make sure you raise this one to the -1. Okay, if you need to go back over this method, make sure to stop by tutorials so I can help you out with that, but make sure you're raising that one. On number 5, because of the oddities in it, it'd probably be easier to graph that one. You can solve it by elimination by swapping the y and the x in the first equation. Again, I can kind of go over that. 9, 10, 11 are all set up to be like matrices or solved by elimination. I believe one of them is like a no solution. The other one is an all real numbers. Just remember, I think this one, number 11, is the all real numbers. 2x minus 2x is nothing. 3y minus 3y is nothing, and it equals nothing. Does 0 equal 0? Yes, it does. So that's the all real numbers on that. I think I left this question off of our copy of the test. By what number should you multiply the first equation to solve using elimination? You just need something to be opposites. The easiest to do that with is the x's, so that it'd be a -2, because the -2 times the -5 would make a +10. On to the second page. Find a solution to the system of linear inequalities. On the test, this is 4 different points, and it doesn't give you the graphs. You'll have to graph it on your own, and you'll have to find out which one of those points is a correct answer. You can also do that algebraically by just putting the points into the x and y and seeing if it works. For us on this one, you're just going to graph them. Same thing with 14, 15, and 16. All you need to do is graph it. For the purposes of this review, you can use the calculator, you can use Desmos, whatever. On the test, it's going to be 4 graphs that have different areas shaded with the overlap and everything, and you're going to have to pick the one that is the correct overlap on there, okay? This test is going to be a Google Doc, a form. So make sure you bring in a Chromebook so that you can take the test, and then you'll know your grade immediately. On this one, number 17, find the values of x and y that maximize. My points are 0, 8, 5, 4, and 9, 0. I'm putting them into this 3x plus 2y. So that's 3 times 0 plus 2 times 8. That's 3 times 5 plus 2 times 4. And that's 3 times 9 plus 2 times 0. Whichever one of these comes up the higher number, that's going to be your maximum value. Number 18, given a system of constraints, name all the vertices. You have to graph this one. You have to graph it to find the vertices, then find the maximum value. Remember, this equation here, the 4x minus 3y, is how you're going to find that max, not just where is it on the graph, okay? The following inequality in slope-intercept form. Ours is a multiple choice test, and you have a graphing calculator. If I did put this one on, which I can't remember if I did, you don't actually have to solve for y. Like, you could just graph both of them and see which ones come up with exactly the same graph. However, if you're doing this one, subtract 8x, that's 2y is greater than or equal to negative 8x plus 56, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. That's y is greater than or equal to a negative 4x plus, 28? Keep in mind, if you do end up dividing by a negative on this one, if it's on the test and you're trying to do this algebraically, that when you divide by the negative, it's gonna make it where you have to swap the inequality symbol. Number 20, sum of two numbers is 77. X plus y equals 77. Their difference is 7. Difference means you're subtracting. X minus y equals 7. Write a system of equations. There it is. And then solve by elimination to find the two numbers. There is a problem like this on the test. It's in 2 parts. So the one part is writing the system. The other part is what are the numbers. Okay, so that's like a 2-part question on that one. And then the essay question. Yeah, these are both in y equals form if you've been having trouble writing them. And it's like y is equal to $2 fish plus $40, and y is equal to $3 fish plus 36. Just make sure when you're going down through this one that you answer all the questions. It asks for the solution. It asks what does that solution mean? And then it says if he's going to buy 5 fish, which one should he go to? Just make sure you answer all of those questions for this review, and that should get you in good shape. Hopefully this will help you out. If not, make sure you stop by for tutorials and we'll get you some help.